Hi, this is Melanie, and it's Sunday afternoon, the 7th of October, and we are in the eve of the eve before the new moon, which is tomorrow. There's a new moon on October 8th, 2018. And as I was sitting contemplating what my own process with the moons, I felt compelled to share a bit about my own story of awakening, and for twofold reason. One, I feel like it's of benefit to share this story, and part of it, I find that when I share my stories, they are useful to others because there are common threads that run through. No two stories are exactly the same. However, hearing someone else's story and hearing what they have gone through is very supportive to us. We all have ahas and, oh, me too, those kinds of moments. So the other part about sharing this with you is that it's time for me to show up in a different way. And so this is me stepping forward and doing my own due diligence and listening to my own inner guidance to step forward and show up in a different form with more transparency. So the story starts about 29 years ago, almost 30 years ago. And at that point in time, my entire life completely deconstructed. My marriage fell apart. My health got very dicey with cancer, some cancer scare stuff. I quit my corporate job and had no source of income. I had 3 very small children. I had just given birth to my youngest son. And so I had 3 children, 4 and under. And my whole life completely fell apart. And not long after that, as I had this mantra that I kept saying, the divine plan for my life is manifesting now. I had this single focused determination and knowing that everything was falling together and not falling apart. And during this time, I was called to go and spend a couple of weeks at a summer camp for adults. It was a spiritual thing in the Mount Shasta area. And while I was down there, my entire being was torn open, like just blown open. And I began to see things, hear things, experience things. It was as if the veils just dropped in an instant and everything came down over the course of that 2-week period. And they never really came back to a place of that completely changed me. So one example is one night during that time, I was with a man that was involved with this group, and we went out and we laid on the ground and looked up at the sky. And I didn't know anything about astronomy at all. And as I lay at the sky and I looked up, I could see each of the constellations as if they were connect the dots, right? There were like these white lines connecting them, and I could see the shapes. And as I looked at each one, they would begin to speak to me and tell me their story. And so those kinds of things, there were spirits, animals showing up, there were beings showing up. It just was nonstop. I began to, after that time, I'd be driving down the highway, and all of a sudden this movie screen would start in front of my eyes, and I would have spontaneous past life regressions. I would receive information. It was it was a pretty trippy time. And so during that time, this went on for a couple of years. And then I really got to a place where I just said, I've got 3 small children. I need to be more grounded than this. So we have to shut this down a bit. But ever since that time, there were things that kept happening over the course. At one time, I tried to shut everything down. And of course, that doesn't work so well when we pull back these experiences that we have. And over the course of the next several years, there was after I completely pulled it back, and that's a story for another day, there was a gradual movement forward. And And as that happened and things began to open up again, I began to I had all kinds of internal experiences and shifts that were going on. And I have shelves and shelves and shelves of journals holding all of these experiences that I had over all these years. So, but this was a very private inner experience. I didn't talk about it very much. So I was really living two worlds. And so over the course of that time, as things began to open up, I went and did a workshop on the East Coast for a training for something. And during that training, there was all these exercises that they put us through, and it helped me to understand the depth and the breadth of the gifts of vision, healing, and my own inner abilities. And at that time, this was like, I don't know, 15, 18 years ago, people were saying, well, why don't you, do this for a living, blah, 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 blah. And I said, I don't want any part of any of this. So during this whole time, as I was exploring, studying with a Native American medicine woman, studying with the Grand Master who brought Feng Shui to the West, studying Tibetan Buddhism, very deeply immersed in my own spiritual growth and practice, always working to support others and my family, but not in a I was in the fashion world, right? I was a sales rep. So I had these two lives going on for many times. And I actually have this split line in my hand. I also learned how to read hands and all kinds of things. But there were definitely two paths that were taking place. And I had this life where I just really didn't talk about it. And even as the years have gone by and I've become more and more open with the people that I work with, I still don't talk about all of this much in public. And so it's fascinating that October is the month for me, is a month about pleasure. It's a month about the nourishing, nurturing, inner comforting pleasure that allows us to rest in the discomfort of change and transformation. And so that happens for me through being out in nature, through many, many different ways. We all have our way of doing that. It's also the month of there no longer being a house divided. And so in so many ways, I'm being called to bring things together. And even though I have felt like my life has been seamless, there still has been a stepping back and a holding back on sharing my experiences and what has happened for me in the last several years. So at this point in time, it's been a slow journey, and I have become a clearer and clearer channel for information and healing to come through me. There are times when I'm working with people all the time where sounds and other languages from other star systems, from the indigenous peoples here, from the land itself, that these energies begin to come in and literally shift the vibration and frequency of the people that I'm working with in partnership in that moment, whether it be in a small group or be in a private session. And my understanding of who I am has expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded. And I'm sure it will continue to expand. And so in the last several weeks, I have stepped into a very solid and full understanding of who I am and what I am here doing on the planet at this time. And my role as humanity and the planet herself shifts, and we go through this transition. I've had visions and seen things and received information for many years. And so I'm telling you all of this, as I said, for two reasons. One, because our understanding of who and what we are in the world is shifting and changing. We are multidimensional beings having a human experience. And if you are following me and you are relating to this in any way, then I am sure that you are having experiences of your own where you have a sense that you know you are something more than just this physical body, or even this personality, or your mind or your emotions, that there is something that you are about in the world, that there is a purpose that you're holding, that there is much more to you than what you previously thought. Some people know that they are angelic beings. They have this sense of this, right? If that's you, then own it. You really are. Some people have a sense that they are, have fairy energy, or they have this connection with trees, or they are from another star system. They know they are not from here originally. So I want to encourage you to simply quietly own that. You don't need to go do anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's simply the time to expand our understanding of who we are. And so I know my own work is changing. It has been changing and evolving over this last while. This is a new segment and a new adventure I am stepping into. I don't know what that's going to look like. And I want to invite each and every one of you to come with me. So thank you so much. And just loving blessings to each and every one of you as you go about your day, and you invite more and more of your own soul's knowing and your own, all the parts of you that are ready to come in and be with you in such a magnificent way. So blessings. Thank you.